Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the studio. I'm Cathy Holt, the host of the Lighthouse Path podcast, where we shine the light onto our clients and customers so they know how much we care about them. And the topic today is how do we build strong bonds with these clients and customers way beyond the initial transaction so they know how much we care about them. And somebody who's an expert in that is somebody who's also world famous. Her name is Cathy Holt. She's become a dear friend, and I admire her so much. Founder of Cathy Holt Coaching, she is also the host of her own TV show. She's a best-selling author, a sought-after speaker in so many ways, because where Cathy shines her light is on helping women own their voice, own the room, and make the impact they want to make through their influence. And she does that so well. Clients stay with her long after, we're just going to say long after that initial transaction. She's going to tell us today how she supports them and why you might want to be supported by Cathy yourself. Cathy, welcome into the studio.
Thank you so much, Stacey. It's so great to be with you. I know we've had so many conversations offline, so now I'm just really excited that we can have one today together in this format.
Yes, letting other people in on the high vibration conversations we've been having. Okay, let's start with, you have a particular process, not a strategy, but a process to ensure that when you start working with your clients, they know that you intend to have a strong, mutually supportive relationship with them. So can you tell us about this process you go through at the beginning?
I'd love to, and thank you so much for allowing me this platform to share my thoughts on honoring clients, because I do. To me, when they entrust me with their growth, it's a sacred thing. So the way I do it is I really start by truly seeing them, not just their business, but before we talk strategy, I really get to know how they show up in rooms, how they make decisions, what holds them back, so that I can really honor who they are and build that trust from the very beginning. And from them there, I really try and help them see themselves. Every woman I work with has more than she realizes going on, because so many things come naturally that she just thinks that, oh, everyone can do that. But that's not true. There's specific strengths and traits and skills that she possesses, and she needs to own them so that she can own her power. Then after that, I think that it's important for them to find their voice, but not just speaking, but using their voice and their ideas and messages strategically so that they're recognized for their expertise. And I also really tap into what are their dreams, what do they really want to be doing, and so that they focus on that and learn that, they say sometimes, you want something done, give it to a busy woman. Well, that might be great for the person who wants to get something done, but it might not be great for the busy woman, because it might totally take her off track into another direction, which isn't helping her grow her business, her influence, or her impact. Then, I also care enough to tell them the truth. I think I have an honesty that I portray about how power is really operates and how opportunities come to fruition. And I think that's something we don't always talk about, but I worked for 17 years in politics, and I kind of know how decisions can be made and how power can be used and messaged. So I feel like I have those skills that I love to share with the women that are my clients.
I have been wanting to ask you this question for a long time, because especially when we talk about women empowerment, right?
Mm-hmm.
As if we all believe it's the same thing. With your unique experience in politics, but also working with women throughout the world in all different sectors. When you talk about power, just as you just did right then, can you give us a fuller description of what do you see and what do you believe what power is in the hands of women?
Absolutely. And as you just said, it is different for every single woman on earth, for every being on earth. And that really is talking about, to me, it's about how you can use your strengths to influence outcomes or get people to join you in an endeavor to change something. There's so many different ways power is expressed. And being a leader is not just getting out in front of a parade. It's actually convincing people to go along with you on some kind of adventure to enact change. That is a type of power. Or having somebody understand the importance of something that you think is important and being able to convey that so that it shines a light on them, but it also lights them up. That's another kind of power. So every situation, every person, every woman I've worked with, one woman that I worked with in Africa for a while, she was a great community organizer, a grassroots woman who really saw care in her village as drastically needed. Women were dying on the way to the hospital because it was so far away when they were in childbirth or in labor, and dying before childbirth or in childbirth. So she got the community together, created a small health care unit, really in a church that was there in her community. She then built it up so that they got the hospital to train what we would call midwives or doulas, and then even eventually got the community so organized in the hospital to help with all these situations and these women that were really needing care. They got an ambulance. I mean, she just created a whole system in her community, and now she is considered an expert in care, especially the unpaid care that women provide. And on the UN level, she goes to all kinds of UN meetings to really show how community efforts can increase health and housing and well-being, but also how that care economy is so crucial to the world.
Catherine, I have to say that while I applaud her and all of her efforts, you're the unsung hero, unless I ask you to sing, which I'm asking you metaphorically to sing right now.
Okay.
In terms of you only know about her because she came to you for support.
Mhm.
Would you be willing to share with us where she started and the kind of support that you provided that made that possible?
Oh, of course, of course. And, quite honestly, you say that I'm an unsung hero, and that's sometimes how I view myself. I don't need the spotlight. I want to help other women get the spotlight. But she started literally as just a grassroots woman who did farming, who in her community was a, a leader, but it was a very small village community in Kenya. And she saw a need and she really wanted to do something about it. So she was already doing something and already in a somewhat of a leadership position in her community, but she wanted to scale it. She wanted to elevate her capabilities and her possibilities for influence. So we went in and we looked at, what are your strengths? What are you good at? What are some of the gaps? And it's not that you have to learn everything to be a leader. You just have to know that if you do have some place that you're not as strong in, or that you're not as excited about, you collaborate or find partners who are, so that you can work together. And then once she found her strength, we worked on her voice. We worked on, how do you present this to different people to get what you want, to have the impact you need to have. So it was very different the way we messaged things to the village leaders then what we would then go on to message to government entities, funders, donors, so that she learned how to really communicate so that the people she was communicating heard her, not just listened to her. I think there's a big difference between listening to and then really impacting how somebody hears you, and actually, you speak, you have to tell it in a way that they can relate to. So she learned those skills. And as she built up her capabilities, we then really had to look at, because of course she was being pulled in all kinds of directions because she was so good and so effective, we also had to look at how do you determine, or how did she determine what was important to her and her journey, and what she wanted to influence and have impact on. And that's sometimes means you learn when to say no and when to say yes, and when it follows your passion, and when it might be something that you see, yes, it's valuable and needs to be done, but it might not help you on your journey for what you want to what you want to achieve in your life. What's your legacy? So that's how I helped her go through those different stages.
I'm in awe and inspired at the same time. Al, that particular story, I believe every woman could find themselves right at this moment at which stage they are, and how easily you presented that she started at the very beginning, but there are many women who are somewhere along that path. What I'm going to ask you is, you would say, yes, at this stage, this is the next most important. But of all the women that you've had the opportunity to serve, what would you say? And we're not asking you to single out a particular human being,
Sure.
but what would be the biggest mistake you think the majority of them were making before they started working with you?
Oh, that's a great question. I would have to say that I think one of the biggest mistakes is to think you have to do everything. And I need to elaborate a little bit on that, because women are good at a lot of things. I mean, I don't get into nurture or nature because that's a whole different conversation. But because of who we are, and that's actually what's in my book, Unstoppable Women Owning Our Voices and Leading Change. I talk about the different traits that are leadership traits, and how women are really good at them. Communications, empathy, compassion, emotional intelligence, thinking quickly, being creative, pivoting all the time. We use that word. But I think what happens is, in that process, sometimes there's so much noise and so many demands on us, because we are good at things, that we forget to look at, what do we want? What are we good at? What lights us up? And when we take that time to look at that and see what lights us up, then we know the path we need to start on. So, and that happens at all different levels. It's not just at the beginning. I know even in my careers, because I've had a bunch on my pathway to my leadership, that there have been times that I've forgotten what it was I was trying to achieve, and did get pulled off into maybe a different direction for a little while, until I went, whoa, wait a second, this is not really, I know I'm doing well at this, or I know I'm helping other people, but it's not what the direction I want to go in. So that happens at all different levels, no matter whether you're, just starting out on your leadership journey, or you're very advanced in your leadership journey. Taking that time to stop and think and say, what is it I want? And where is it I want to go? And what do I like to do? And what am I good at? We can get really pulled off our pathway very easily.
I love, especially in light of the theme of this podcast, that you talked about the most important is to first light ourselves up so that we can then shine the light on others. And
Yeah.
so thank you for expressing that so beautifully. Now, you've shared with us, it's going across the screen, your website, kind of like a tour guide. What happens when somebody goes to your website? Why would they want to go? What will they find there?
Well, on my website, it's like a lot of websites. I like to think it's creative, but that's not my strong point. So it's informational and it's I think it's good to look at. But it does tell a little bit more about me and my work. It does give you the opportunity to get the book. It also gives you the opportunity to connect with me, and so that we can have a conversation about where you are in your journey and what it is that you want to achieve, and whether or not I can be supportive of you on that journey. So and it does talk about some of the projects I've done and some of the work I've done, but I think it's really, there's also actually a free offer that I give any woman who goes to my website that talks about some strategies to do today, right now, to kind of change your leadership trajectory. So it's about me, because I think that building trust and really serving my clients, they have to know me and I have to get to know them.
Yeah. I agree with you. Trust is us being vulnerable, open, authentic.
Mhm.
Yes. And also then being able to explain from there how we can support someone in moving towards the fulfillment of their goals. And I love that, the strategy for our own empowerment. Where are you on your influence trajectory? That is so
Mhm.
very wonderful. So I highly recommend that everybody go to her website. I could have told you that, but it was more important for me that Catherine told you and invited you.
Thank you.
Catherine, thank you for accepting my invitation to be here today. And to everyone, thank you for taking the time to watch, to receive, and then to take action so that you can power yourself up to shine your light on others. And as I always say, shine on.
Absolutely. And thank you, Stacy, for all you do, because I really do. I I am so thrilled that we have gotten to know each other, and for me to have gotten to know your lighthouse path, because I think what you are doing and what you are sharing with people about finding your own light and then shining it on others is so important in the world right now.
Thank you. Thank you
Mhm,
very much.
mhm.
Take care, Catherine and everybody.